Yeah, hi, David.
Hi there. Let me introduce you. Cindy is not with us, as you can see, at least not live. And she stayed home because her family has a gift they want to share with everybody, and she decided it was a good thing not to share it. COVID is not a fun gift to share, so she thought she'd stay home. I've got one thank you, Cindy.
You're welcome.
All right, so since she can't see all of you, why don't we start by going around and why am I running a program? And introducing ourselves, and then Cindy will take over, and I'll get out of the way. So let's start over here. It's just your names. Yeah. Okay. And over here.
My name is Steineman, Beck Steineman, my sister Amanda.
Wow. Whole family.
Yep.
All right. Jerry. Hi, Kelly. Nikki Clark. Okay. Kate Smith. Okay. I couldn't hear. I'm sorry. Oh, Letty. Yep. And Bobby. Okay. Chanel. Wayne. Well, you certainly are. This is Angel. Go. Okay. My son Nick. Nick. Okay. Is that everybody?
Heather.
Heather. Hi, Heather. Anybody else? Donovan. Hello, Donovan. And Dave. Hi. Okay. And a couple that just came in. Okay. Ashley. Okay. And David. And David. All right. So find a seat where there's a Braille writer, and I'm going to be here to help with problems, and I'm going to turn it over to Cindy.
I could have my name too.
Okay, I'm wondering, are everyone parents, or are there some teachers in the group? And what about the virtual people? Are they present today, or they're going to listen later?
I don't know that we have virtual people. They haven't said anything.
Okay.
Anybody?
Okay.
If you're on here virtually, please unmute and say your name. Hello?
Okay. Apparently, there were 6 people who signed up for virtual, but maybe they just intended to listen to the presentation later.
It's very possible. Let me check the presenters panel
Okay.
and make sure that no, there's nobody in the waiting room.
Okay. All right. So maybe they're just going to listen later.
Yeah, that's kind of a common thing. Wait, it's all good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, I won't address them then if they're not here. Okay, so I do want to apologize for not being there. I wish I could be, because for the past 2 years, I've presented this virtually, hoping that I could be there to help with real Braille writers, but fate didn't let me be there, so I do apologize, but I'm really glad that you're there with real Braille writers, because I think it will really help you understand Braille even better. I wondered if there are any teachers in the class.
We don't see any hands.
Okay, so that I'll just address you as parents and introduce myself. I've taught visually impaired children and adults for more than 40 years. And I just love visually impaired people. It's been a joy to teach that long, and I just can't get enough of it. I do still have a Braille student all these years after retirement. So It's really a wonderful field to be in, and I want you to not be afraid of Braille. But in my career, I didn't have very many parents who chose to learn Braille, even just the alphabet, because they were too afraid of it. And so I had a previous boss who said, if you keep repeating things, people will remember. So I'm going to keep repeating that Braille is not scary. I do love it. I see it as a code, not another language. That's another thing that creates some fear. I used to tell my students, and there's a little book that calls it a secret code, which makes it even more exciting for the little ones. And for parents to not be afraid, because they do not need to learn to read it with their fingers. So if their child is having trouble figuring out a word, they just move their fingers away, and you can look down and help them with at least some of the letters. So all you're going to need is your Braille writer and your paper. And the cheat sheet, I call it a cheat sheet, that's called Braille Alphabet. That should have been in your folder. For the people who will listen virtually, they just need their bubble sheet and a marker to practice. And now I'll share my screen. Just a minute, one technical problem here.
Yeah.
Okay, now it's working. Okay, so the beginnings of Braille. The history of the variety of tactual ways for blind people to read is fascinating, and it goes back as early as the 4th century. And there's a wonderful article about that history in the most recent newsletter from Wisconsin Braille. If you're interested, I will be doing an advertisement for Wisconsin Braille later in the presentation. But my husband said you guys would fall asleep if I told you all those details, and he's probably right. So I would just tell you a little bit about WisBrl. The dot method of reading Braille, as opposed to some of the other kind of unusual ones in the history, is mostly thanks to WisBrl. Many of you know about him, so I'll quickly summarize his life. He became blind due to an accident in his father's workplace at age 3. He was a really bright and curious little boy, and he seemed unstoppable in his desire to read and write in spite of his blindness. So at age 10, he went to the Royal Institute for Blind Youth in Paris, which was 25 miles from his country home in France. There he heard Captain Charles Barbier speak about his raised dot system of night writing. The captain used 36 basic sounds and a 12-dot cell. And Louis thought that was too complicated, so he wanted to figure out a better and easier code. It took him 3 years to refine the code to the one we know today, and many more years before it became widely accepted, which didn't happen, sadly, until 2 years after he died in 1854. At that time, it was named the official system in France for teaching the blind to read and write. It started being used in the United States in the 1860s, so right around the time of the Civil War. So Braille is very important. There have been some people out there who feel that it can be replaced with technology alone, and I disagree. I do think technology is wonderful, and it has opened many doors for blind people, but I don't think that should be to the exclusion of Braille. So literacy does include reading and writing. And while tech is mostly listening, and that is a more passive skill, reading is active. So that helps imprint it. In education, it's important to actively learn reading, spelling, punctuation, and those kinds of things are not available when you're just listening to a story. The spelling and punctuation, of course, and you want it for creative writing and math, and the list just goes on and on of the important uses of Braille. And then later in life, to be truly independent, people need to label things like their canned goods and their cleaning products, especially their medications, shampoos and conditioners. And these days are almost always in the exact same bottle. So it helps to identify those one way or another. And again, the list goes on. And in a job, if you have Braille skills, you can very effectively use electronic note takers, which would really help at a job site. And for identification of objects and locations, restrooms, of course, are very important, and office numbers, just to name a few. And I know you've probably noticed the Braille numbers in the elevator. I have this habit whenever I go to in an elevator, I check and make sure the Braille is right. And I have found some mistakes, sadly. So we will go on to what you're here to learn about ways to make Braille. And so the slate and stylus is the slowest, but probably the handiest way to make Braille. They do make slate and stylus to be the size that you could fit in your pocket if you want, or put on an index card. The Braille writer, which you should have in front of you, is the oldest way, sort of mechanically, to make it. And then there's a Braille embosser, which could be attached to a computer, and that's pretty modern. And a Braille labeler is one that would help with the kinds of things I mentioned, labeling medication or cans. It makes a strip of Braille label that you can attach to what you need. So then in technology, we have the picture of the refreshable Braille display, and this little cutie has the Braille display in front of her, and that looks to be a nice big one, probably a 40 cell. So she can read close to an entire sentence on that. The one on the right, as you face the screen, is called the Refresher Braille, and that really is quite small. And with the use of that, my student, who I still have, is able to Bluetooth connect to his cell phone, and he can text me using that little machine, which I think is pretty amazing. So you don't have to worry about this next part about Braille, but it's good for you to know that there are now really two Braille codes. The first one is the one that WisBrl created, and it's called EBAB, which stands for English Braille American Edition. And it's been around, as you can see, for around 200 years. UEB got adopted just in 2016, so it's relatively new. And the UEB stands for Unified English Braille, and it has updates for the modern world, like better ways to write websites and email addresses, which were difficult before now. So many people weren't too happy that there was another code, but there are really good reasons for it. And one of the reasons is that it allows all English-speaking countries to share Braille material. So that's a big advantage. The modern technology, there are some codes, as I said, to help with computer codes, and it allows for changing the system somewhat in the future. So it's not a big leap from the code before. People who have only learned the old code easily adapt to the new one, but I think it's important for you to know that there are two. In case you would get a book that was in the old Braille, you would know some of the differences. So we are going on to talk about the Braille Cell. And this is real important for you to have in your mind, that the cell is these 6 dots, and the ones on the left are 1, 2, 3. And the ones on the right are 4, 5, 6. So if you have the Braille alphabet in front of you, you can see that the numbers are darkened in accordance with how they would be. So when you get to using your Braille writer, if you want to use that, you press the keys that are darkened in the picture. So these are the parts of the Braille writer. It's the 1, 2 key, 3 keys are with your left hand, and the 4, 5, 6 keys are with your right hand. That key that is I'm pointing to in the PowerPoint is the line down key. So when you want to go to your next line, you push that. The middle key is the space bar. And the right key is the backspace. And what's pictured there is the line return. It presently is all the way to the right. When you start a line, you push it down and push it all the way to the left. And then the other one you need to know is the paper release lever. It's shown here just on the left, but it is on the left and the right. And in order to get the paper in, you have to pull that forward. And when the paper is settled in, then you push it back. I don't know, maybe someone there can tell me if there's already paper in the Braille writers, or if that's something that you're going to do with everybody. I'm sorry, couldn't hear that.
Oh, the paper's next to the Brailler.
Okay, good. So in a minute, I'll give you time to get that paper in. So this Braille writer, back when I was in graduate school, which is more years than I care to admit, cost $125. And it truly hasn't changed. And now it's $810, but not to worry, because they are available on loan through the American Printing House, other sources. So it's no cost to your students. Just for your interest, there is a machine called Smart Braille, which is electronic, plastic. It displays in Sim Braille, which is the kind of Braille that's on the left in this slide, and large text. It has built-in speaker, headphones, and many languages. And that one costs over $2,000. All right. Why don't you take a minute to put the paper in and tell me when everybody has the paper in.
If you're having difficulty putting the paper in, just say something and one of us can come over and assist you.
But it's like bent down. That's L. Is L, so we have to turn.
Oh, yeah. All the way in that typo.
On the top, and you're going to roll it all the way. The roller's towards you. Roll it in. Yep. Everybody's still working on that.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I feel like
No.
oh, you can get it for free. Sorry. Oh wait, no.
Does everybody have the paper in?
Okay, we got thanks for it.
Not yet, huh? Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
No, two.
If you wanted it to hear that. Perfect.
Okay, so. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Don't see them. Oh, we didn't want. So you. There you go. Right next to you on the table. Mine doesn't. No.
Okay, is everybody ready now?
Negative. What is mine?
Because I can't.
You're. Negative.
Okay, Cindy, everybody's ready. Can you hear us?
Yes, now I can. Thank you. Yeah, that might have been the hardest part because a lot of you never used a typewriter. So you're not used to rolling in paper and sometimes get stuck. But now that you're ready, these are the first 10 letters of the Braille alphabet. And as you can see from the little dots, besides the darker dots, that it shows the position in the cell. So all the first 10 letters are in the top 2/3 of the cell. So I'm going to have you practice with these two words. And I put the little cheat sheet up on the top of the screen. And also, hopefully, everyone has the Braille alphabet cheat sheet too. So try and write these two words on your Braille writer. And then if someone again could let me know when you're done, I'd appreciate that. So this is how it should have looked. And you can look with your eyes over the Braille writer and see if if you got it right. Good success for everybody. Okay, ready for more practice? With these same letters, try and make these two words.
Well, why don't you tell us?
Cabbage and baggage. Okay, all good? Okay, so then we're going to move on to the next 10 letters. And as you can see, the only thing that's different about the next 10 is that the .3 is added. So A is the same as K, only with a .3. B is the same as L, only with a .3. C is the same as M, only with a .3. So that's true all the way through to T. So here's your chance to practice some more. And the cheat sheet is up above, and the Braille or alphabet should be helping you. So try these two words.
Practicing alphabet. Practicing
One more minute. Check everybody is ready.
Okay, so here are the answers. Double check that you got them. All good? Ready for some more practice? Let's try these words. Okay, so here are the answers to that one. And then we'll move on to the very last letters, the last 6. And those have dots 3 and 6 added to them, except for, I'll show you, except for W. So we just add the 2 dots, but the W is definitely an exception. Does anybody know why?
We're not getting any responses here, Cindy.
Okay, well, it's kind of interesting that back when WisBrl was learning French, the W barely existed. It only was in some very foreign words. So he didn't put it in his alphabet, and we had to put it in later. So it's really out of sequence. You just have to remember the W. So here you can practice with those last 6 letters. Let me know when you're done. Hopefully the internet won't go out again.
I think we're good, Cindy.
Okay, great. Here are the answers to that. And fuzzy is probably one of the Z's are probably the hardest letter to remember because they're not used very much. Okay, and so now I have some more information about the Braille code. I don't want you to get scared. I don't want you to get worried, but you can know that these things exist. So here we go. You can write numbers in Braille too. And the only thing that you need to remember is the numeric indicator, which is it's squared in red on the screen. So number 1 is A, number 2 is B, number 3 is C, all the way up to J, which is 0. So just as long as that numeric indicator is there, it's like alert, alert, it's going to be a number instead of a letter. So that's kind of handy. You don't have to learn different numbers. And you can also capitalize letters by putting a .6 in front of the letter. So that .6 indicates that the C in cat is capitalized. And of course, there is punctuation. And all the punctuation is lower in the cell. So if you're feeling Braille, you feel it lower. If you're looking at Braille, you see that it is lower in the cell. So then we have things called contractions in Braille, and they're not the contractions like apostrophe T and don't or won't. They are kind of like a shorthand to make Braille be a little bit smaller. And so the reasons that are listed on the screen are why there are contractions. They save space and time. Braille volumes, as you've maybe seen, are quite big. And so if you spelled out every letter, they'd be even bigger. It does make reading easier and a little bit faster when you can just get one word from one sign. They are grouped according to similarities, and that just will help later if you're trying to learn them. And they can represent whole words, part words, or both. And they can use one or more cells. So that's just for your interest. You don't have to memorize any of that, but I'll show you some of the ways that it makes things quicker. These are called alphabetic word signs, and almost all the letters of the alphabet have a word to go with them. Of course, A does not, because A is A by itself, and I does not, because I is I by itself. But here we have, some people call this the but can do list. So B is for but, C is for can. You can see all of these. Some of them aren't used as often as others, but they do make things a little bit quicker. So we'll show you on the next slide. Check and tell me, and I did give you the cheat sheet. So I said the chocolates are delicious. What is the answer that's up there in Braille? Just tell me if anybody got that.
My goodness, you guys are quiet.
Did I tell you?
Okay, say more.
Yeah, I think.
More.
Yep. Can I have more? And see, isn't that cool that just that letter C stands for can, then the I is capitalized, then the H stands for have, and the M stands for more. So see how much shorter that is than writing it all out. Okay, how about the next one? Some kids hate asparagus. And what does it say under that?
Go ahead and just say it real loud. But I like it.
That's right. Very, very good. And again, you can see how much shorter it is to write it that way. Then the last one. Are you done yet?
Not quite.
Very good. Not quite. Okay, perfect. So I will show you these. These are called strong contractions, and they are used pretty often. And I just wanted to show you how they were made. For the word and, there's just an added .6 to P. For is an added .6 to Q, et cetera, et cetera. You can see. So we have and, for, of, the, and with. And the cartoon is of Linus talking in shorthand. That's to just give you a little giggle. So let's see if you can use the cheat and figure out what these examples say. Let's try for the top one first. You have to remember, let me see. No, okay, never mind. I didn't do a cheat. You have to remember the single letter ones too.
You and me.
Yeah, there you go. You and me. And there's that cute owl couple next to them. Okay, how about the next one? Anybody have it?
For the fun of it.
You got it. Good. And the last one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody?
With love.
With love, yeah, you can tell by the hearts. Okay, and so now the rest is pretty much information to help you. There are apps out there, and I did add an app that is not on your PowerPoint copy, and it's the one in the lower right-hand corner called Braille Academy. And that one, it says it's designed for iPad, but it came up on my iPhone too. And that one is very much based on how I showed you the letters are. They introduce the first 10, and they do a real fun quiz on it. And they have these little sort of fireworks when you get everything right. It's a really fun one if you want to jot that down. Braille Academy, play and learn for the parents to practice. The others, they keep changing. Anytime you look there, it seems that there are more out there for practice, so that's fun. Then for home activities, Pinterest is just wonderful for ideas. And the paths to literacy, which I give you in the PowerPoint and on the next slide, I believe, has a lot of suggestions on ways to make more activities. And it's really cool that Legos have made Braille Legos. The letters are a little bit bigger than under your fingertip, but it's still, you get the right shape of the letter too. Then this is a game that is available through APH on quota funds. And this is a really fun one because it really stresses the shape of the cell, and you can feel it tactually, and you can understand, start understanding better the position of where the dots are in the cell. And for resources, I had these are all be on your PowerPoint. And you can read those. Wisconsin Braille is darkened. I told you I was going to give you an advertisement, and the advertisement is here. So I am on the board of Wisconsin Braille, which is one of the reasons I'm invested in telling you about it, but also it's a wonderful organization that I think enough people don't know about. So our mission is to advance communication and coordinate the efforts of all persons concerned with the availability, quality, and distribution of Braille materials in the state of Wisconsin. So anyone who lives in the state of Wisconsin can get free Braille books. So that includes the students, their families, their schools, their parents, and their libraries. So once a year, a list comes out of books that we have chosen that are just wonderful. And when I stop screen sharing, I'll show you a couple of examples of them. And they're usually ordered in December into maybe early January, and they come around June. So they're wonderful to have home for summer break and then for the beginning of the next school year. And you can get pretty many books, probably as many as you'd like, for only $10 a year membership fee. If I was able to be there in person, I was going to have a table and show you the books and show you how easy it is to sign up for membership. But since I'm not there, I will tell you about it. And the website is there. And hopefully you will go to that and sign up. Then the national resources are all listed here. They are on your handout, so I won't go over those anymore. Then the Braille Writers for a Loan, these are the qualifications for them. And I'm sure wherever you're connected, they will be able to request those for you. And then the people to connect to help with that are, of course, Tricia, who is who is there, I think. She's there. I thought she was going to be on this session, but I haven't seen her. And Dawn and Alicia Reganis. I'm going through these quickly because you have this all written down on your copy of the handout. And then Hadley School for the Blind, I have been informed that they have a family education program with courses for sighted family members, including Braille, independent living, and advocacy for blind children. So that's wonderful. National Federation of the Blind, shortened to NFB, has early childhood programs. They have a Reading Pals Club, Early Explorers, and Santa Letters. And also there is a branch, the Wisconsin Parents of Blind Children. And that would be something to look into. And then the American Printing House has the Virtual Excel Academy, which has free lessons for students with varying abilities. So these are all very valuable sources. Then we have some books for parents, and this is the similar kind of practice that you can get on the apps too. If you prefer, using a workbook type book, these are mostly available. Some are out of print, but still available in various sources. And then the websites are listed here. Texas School for the Blind is an awesome resource. Wonder Baby at Perkins, Paths to Literacy, and of course, where you are, or why you got to this conference, the Wisconsin Center for the Blind. So I really appreciate that you're there. I wish I was, but if you have any questions whatsoever, I will stop sharing my screen and I will show you some of the books, and I'll be open to any questions you might have. So there I am. I hope you can see me.
Go ahead and say something, and I will, if you don't say it loud enough, I can repeat it for Cindy.
Okay. So I do have the game here that I talked about, and I can show you just the cards look like this. Pretty cool. That's the size, so you can see it's just about as big as my hand, and it comes in this handy little box, and it's a fun game for sighted as well as visually impaired. And then the books are beautifully done by the people at the Oshkosh Correctional Center. So here's how the book looks. I know that some librarians didn't realize that it's actually just the regular sized book. And then inside is, whoops, not that page. Inside, and you probably can't even see, but there's Braille where my hand is. So it's great for kids to get to feel the Braille along with their family members if they want to read them. And we just have a wonderful collection. Each year when we put out the list, we give the list of, it's usually 15 or 16 new books, but you also have access to all the books that we've printed before. And the names of those books are on the website. So there are just many, many beautiful books available. So does anybody have any questions?
I'm not seeing any.
Okay. Okay. All right. So we're just about at the time for your break. So that's perfect. I want to thank you again for being here. And maybe next year, this crazy virus will be much less around and I'll be able to see you in person.